Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Arsenic Candy Gaming, where today we're asking the question, what on Earth, or rather off of Earth, is Nova Drift? Developed by the one-man team known as Chimeric Games, Nova Drift is a classic 2D arcade shoot-'em-up with a twist. Featuring rogue-lite elements and a branching upgrade system usually more at home in a sword and sorcery ARPG, it certainly gives the player plenty of reasons to want to come back for that ever-elusive one last run. Nova Drift has been described by some as Path of Exile meets Asteroids, which is honestly entirely apt. But it wouldn't be far off the mark to describe it as Asteroids on steroids, as the classic arcade shooter inspiration is worn proudly for all to see. From the single screen play zone to the arcade cabinet inspired scoreboard following your death, the building blocks of a traditional 2D shooter are visible from the moment you fire up the game. You begin your expedition into Nova Drift as a simple soft blue triangular ship-like organism armed with a low damage twin blaster and minimal protective shield. Black asteroids float slowly across the pre-rendered backdrop of stars and planets to either be avoided or blown to pieces, allowing for some time to learn the controls. Soon the asteroids are joined by the first wave of neon pink enemies as ambient electronic music eases you into the combat before you quickly erase the tiny targets from the universe. Beyond the relative ease of the first couple of waves, things tend to ramp up pretty significantly. Single unit advances make way for increasingly more dense waves, and rapidly moving hostile ships swarm the screen while you dodge mines, weave missiles, and run away from full screen lasers and strike craft coming from every corner. Just as the swarm thickens, the ambient electronic tones make way for breakbeats and glitchy electro, growing alongside the combat, before erupting into drum and bass and frantic electro during boss fights. Don't let this straightforward format fool you though, as beneath this layer of simplicity is a comprehensive and undeniably modern action RPG upgrade system which makes Nova Drift stand out from its peers. In between waves, you will spend your time evolving your biomechanical ship to match your specific gameplay style. Collecting experience orbs allows you to level up and unlock upgrades for your current run, but they also increase your account rank, which adds further gear and mods to the available pool for future runs, as well as extra features and challenge modes. Your gear is comprised of 3 basic elements, weapon, shield and body, awarded in that order from the first 3 upgrades, whilst modifications are increasingly powerful tweaks to your gear. You are limited to 1 of each piece of gear, though it is possible to switch these out upon level up, should you wish to change your loadout mid-run. Ship choices range from the manoeuvrable Firefly that ignites chasing enemies with its deadly wake, the Spectre with its cloak that provides invisibility whilst powering up your abilities, to the hulking Carrier, a slow and heavy constructor ship that produces autonomous drones that repair your shields and swarm your enemies when you're in imminent danger. Each chassis comes with unique abilities, as well as buffs and nerfs to attributes like thrust, hull strength and damage resistances. Weapon choices include short-range attacks such as Burst, which deals massive damage in a limited circle around the player, Thermal Lance, which inflicts mounting damage to enemies directly in front of you, and also long-range offerings like the high penetration railgun that cuts through enemies in a straight line across the entire screen. Each weapon can be modified to increase size, number of rounds, velocity, faster firing rates and special damage effects added to each projectile. Every weapon choice can benefit from the standard pool of weapon upgrades, with each benefiting in interesting and unique ways. To follow the trend here, shields also come with their own abilities, including reflecting damage back at enemies, and even the highly combustible Halo, which will burn any ship foolish enough to come too close. Mods themselves are a large pool of upgrades that you begin to receive beyond your 3rd level up, and affect everything from the proximity that your shield covers, the speed or manoeuvrability of your ship, and the size and velocity of your projectiles. Each mod branches out into a larger tree, increasing the effects and even creating synergies with other mods. Of course, given the game's rogue-like nature, there's obviously a lot to unlock, and a certain amount of randomization to what you're offered. though the game goes some way to counter this by allowing you to re-roll your offered mods at level up, giving you a little more control of how you grow. And with no cap to the number of mods you can add, the only limitation is the length of time you manage to survive. With the upgrade tree currently sitting at 170 modifications, there's a huge number of potential for discovering your new favourite loadout. Add to this the unlocking of modes that increase challenge, as well as earned XP and some other additions that will remain nameless for the sake of avoiding spoilers, there's plenty of reasons to dive back in and try another run. Of course, Nova Drift is still in early access, and with that comes room for growth. There are many as yet inaccessible game modes, including a boss rush mode, and the standard roguelike edition of daily challenges which are due to be released in future updates. Of course, no early access game is complete without a few bugs. Thankfully though, as of the time of recording this review, and with around 40 hours of playtime under our belt, we're pleased to say we're yet to encounter anything truly game-breaking. Having experienced only a single incident of a weapon refusing to fire a salvo of missiles, which led to a run ending prematurely. Your mileage may obviously vary, but from our view that's a pretty good hour to bug ratio. It almost feels wrong to try and pick faults with our time in Nova Drift, but if we were to be picky then it has to be said the default controls are initially a little unintuitive. However, that is definitely being picky, as after a few waves and a few missteps, dodging between waves of bullets became second nature. It has to be said that the biggest thing standing in the way of Nova Drift being a truly great game lies in what also makes it a great roguelike, and that's the repetition. The adrenaline rush of taking on wave after wave serves to make you want to dive back in and see if you can get that ever elusive higher score. But it's in this diving back in that reveals the deja vu of familiarity of each wave. The shallow pool of enemy types, the size and configurations of waves, and the mere 5 bosses that are currently in the game, Nova Drift is a game that could certainly benefit from a further sprinkling of variety. But with all that being said, we frankly can't see ourselves wanting to put this title down just yet. At the time of writing, Nova Drift is available on Steam for under £7 or $10, but around double that during regular early access pricing. There couldn't be a better time to warp into Nova Drift.